welcome you all to this conversation series once again. Today we have a very special guest, and I have the honor and pleasure to host Mr. Burley Martawardaya from Indonesia. Burley is a renowned economist based out of Jakarta, Indonesia, and with postgraduate degree from top universities in Europe. Professionally, he wears many important hats, but to name a few, he is currently a research director at Institute for Development of Economics and Finance, INDEF. He's a lecturer at Faculty of Economics, University of Indonesia. He has authored more than 100 op-eds and articles in Indonesian newspapers and magazines. So welcome, Burley, and thank you for your time. Today's conversation will basically be, as we had discussed, on India's relationship with Indonesia, how it has evolved, and the current state of affairs. Burley, if I may, as you know that Indonesia has recently taken over as president of G20. And as we know, the main agenda of Indonesia's G20 presidency will focus on three areas: health, digital transformation, and energy transition. So within these key priority areas, what do you think should be the specific strategies that Indonesia needs to adopt that will translate into substantive progress in achieving goals within these priority areas during its presidency?
Yeah, health, of course, is still a major concern for all countries in the world, especially the largest 20, which gather in the G20. And Indonesia could play a role as developing country, that know firsthand the difficulty in getting and distributing the vaccine, especially with the more active, but thankfully less lethal Omicron variant. And then for the energy, Indonesia is also one of the still large emitter, in the top 7, if I recall correctly, and where the energy sector, which include the transportation, is one of the major emitter. So there has been major change and commitment in the last 6 months. So the presidency of the G20 likely to play a role, because in Indonesian culture is important to behave and to put your best behavior when you are on stage and under the spotlight. And because we are welcoming guests, important guests for the leader of government from the G20 will be coming to Jakarta, and it's customary to show that we are being a good host and can lead the way. So I think that's a good positive aspect for Indonesia, as well as the state of the climate. And for the digitalization, Indonesia has been witnessing the rise of 6 or 7 unicorn, one already in the decacorn category, which major source of pride for the Indonesian, that we can leap into the new and brave the brave new world of the digital economy. And we want to keep the pace and not just be a spectator on the sideline. So with currently the internet penetration is about 50 to 60%, then there are still much room for improvement. There are still major room for increase in utilization, as well as the digitalization of the economy that we have witnessed in the last 2 years since the pandemic. There has been acceleration for the digitalization of the economy that we want to see to be followed through, to be cultivated, to be growth carefully after the pandemic has been subsided.
My second question is somewhat related. So, after I think at the end of 2022, India will take over the presidency of G20 from Indonesia. So, in the context of this, what do you see are the key areas in which India and Indonesia can collaborate to strengthen their partnership. I mean, one example that immediately comes to mind is, of course, the COVID pandemic, where the World Health Organization has asked the G20 Forum, for which India and Indonesia both are a part of, to address the global funding gap for tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is just one example. But what are the areas in which, these two countries can collaborate?
Yeah, of course, the first area will be the COVID pandemic. Yeah, Indonesia learn and watch carefully the policy that India taken, especially during the peak of the pandemic, where we experienced similar peak couple of months afterward. Yeah, and as fellow developing country, we are facing many similar condition and challenges. And then on the economic side, I just take a look at our balance of trade. It's interesting that India now is the fourth largest Indonesia export destination. That's from the data January and February. So that means that's just below China, US, and Japan, I think, in terms of the country. So 6% of the Indonesia total export are going to India, which is very close to European Union at 8%. So that's means our long historical connection has been blooming again, which is we are very much looking forward to even deepen and strengthen. The third part I would point out to the area will be the cultural. So it's not much seen, not much being raised, but Indonesia has been in the historical path has been strongly influenced by India. The many magnificent temple, the Prambanan temple, for instance, in East Java, and the whole pretty much the whole island of Bali is still strongly influenced by the Indian culture. So the story of Ramayana, the story of the Pandava is still being told is in our bedside story. Even still becoming parable and philosophy of many political leaders in Indonesia. So we have a lot in common. Much more than many of the people of the two countries realize.
Yes, Burley, I think I can't agree with you more. Just because you referred to trade, I mean, recently I read in the paper that the Consul General in Mumbai, the Indonesian embassy, stated that both India and Indonesia have set an ambitious target of, I think, $50 billion of worth of trade over the next 6 years, which is a huge jump from what the current amount is. So what are the potentially untapped areas do you think that could be leveraged by both these countries? And is it really possible to expand this to 50 billion over the next 6 years, $50 billion, do you think?
I look at the breakdown of Indonesian export and import to India before the pandemic, 2019, and about 60% of Indonesia export to India is coal and CPO. So I think with the rise of the renewable energy in India, likely in near term, the use of coal will decrease. But on the other side, Indonesia import a lot of beef, peanut, and electronic from India. So the variety of Indonesia import from India is much larger than the variety of Indonesia export to India. Even though at year 2021, Indonesia is still having surplus about $7 billion.
I would like to then change the topic to a different direction, from economy to, say, culture and history. And as you know, culturally and historically, Indonesia and India have a long relationship. Indian cuisine strongly influences Sumatra dishes, Bali in particular. And Bali is a Hindu island with the daily performance of Rama, Shinta epoch. as one of the biggest tourist attraction, and I believe that Indian tourists form a substantial chunk of the total, you know, tourist population that arrive in Bali. So how do you see the cultural aspect that goes hand in hand with the economy in terms?
I study in Netherlands and in Italy. Yeah. So and actually I was there during the enactment of euro currency. Yeah. So the common theme of the that bind Europe are they used to be on under the Roman Empire. Yeah. For Indonesia, yeah, the glorious past, yeah, the closest thing we have to glory to Roman Empire was Majapahit, yeah, Majapahit Kingdom. Yeah, the central is on Eastern Java, goes all the way to part of Malaysia and southern part of Philippines. And it is a Hindu kingdom, yeah. So it's a Hindu kingdom, so that's why some of the largest and most beautiful temple are in Indonesia are Hindu based, yeah. Yeah, so which of course the influence come from traders from India. Yeah, so when there's a very rise of Islamic influence, yeah, then the remnant of the Majapahit Kingdom are migrating to Bali. Yeah, so I can say this because my personal story. Yeah, because personally, my wife is Balinese. Yeah, and is the the grandchildren of the last one of the king of Bali. Yeah, so I'm following the history quite closely. So there is a strong affinity for India or in many parts Indonesia, especially in Bali. Yeah, and when I usually go to Bali at least once a year, sometimes quite often twice a year, and quite often see many Indian tourists there. Yeah, watching the Ramayana, the Monkey King. You've forgotten them. Hanuman, the Hanuman famous dance, famous scene in Ramayana is being reenacted in Bali almost daily. So it's one of the most popular tourist destination, and it's quite often that I see Indian people there. And I think the tourism part, the people to people, the soft diplomacy part is also important to strengthen our relation in the future. Then.
Great. This has been very enriching, Burley, and I guess because of time constraints, we have to kind of bring this to an end. But obviously, we would love to have more conversations with you and your contacts in Indonesia in the near future. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Take care.